Okay, so I'm just going to dive into a bass synth that I've created in Serum 2. So you can see we've got Serum 2 open here. We've got an Ableton track armed. It's an Ableton MIDI track, and I've named the track as a growling distorted bass, and this is what it sounds like. So on. Alright, so with this bass synth you can see that we've got the mono tick down here in the voicing. The whole idea was that we were going to create a mono synth, and then there's lots going on in the actual Serum interface. So you can see we've got 3 oscillators armed here, oscillator A, B and C, and we've also got the sub section armed. Don't have anything in the noise, but we do have both filters on, and we also have the envelope and the LFO. And we've also got a couple of effects as well. So I'm just going to talk you through those one bit at a time. I think the other cool thing to mention on this is that, you know, you can actually deselect some of these oscillators and slightly change the sound. So if you were to take off oscillator C, put that back on for difference, you get a less thick sound. Again, you could take off oscillator B, so that's quite cool, and you get a little bit more of the echo coming through on that. Or you could take off oscillator A, so yeah, but obviously I've got set the synth up with all 3 on. So let's talk through it. So in the oscillator section, so we have no preset sounds selected here. We actually created the mono synth using the sound effects that you've got in each of the oscillators. So let's have a look at the sub. So the sub is armed. We've got the octave set at -2, and we've got a sine wave shape. Pan centrally, and the level is at 87% or -2.4 decibels. So that's the sub. Then we oscillator A, we've got the BS2 subby saw. Now I think this is an analog sound. If you just click on that and then drop down, yeah, so it's about halfway down. The BS2 subby saw has been selected. Octave is -2. We've got the random phase set to 0 and the actual phase set to 104. The wavetable position is at 41. You can see that up there. We've got unison on 4 to thicken the sound, and we've got it detuned to 0.02, which is the parameter that kind of controls the unison levels. Blend is set to 50. Pan is 50, dead center. Nothing in the warp section, but we do have the level set at -4.3 decibels. On to oscillator 2. Again, the PWM medicine hat is an analog sound, which you can find from this drop down menu here right at the bottom. We've got the octave again at -2. We've got the random phase at 67, and we've got the phase at 188, and we've got the wavetable position down here at 24. Again, unison on 4, it's the same for all of them. Detuned though to 0.10. Blended in at 85, and nothing in the warp. And again, the level is at -5 decibels for that particular oscillator. And then finally, oscillator C, we've got PWM Maths 2. And that is an analog, again an analog sound, PWM Maths. If you drop down there, this time that's thickened even more down to octave -3. Random is set at 100, phase is at 180, and the wavetable position is at 79. Unison, as I said before, is set to 4. Detuned to 0.06, blended to 75, pan centrally, and the level is -5 decibels. So nothing on the noise. And we do have two filters in operation. So filter 1 has got the presets going through to oscillator A and B, and filter 2 has the effects applied to oscillator C. So we'll have a look at oscillators A and B going through filter 1, and you can see that we've got the cutoff is highlighted here, which means that we have dragged the envelope filter across into it. So if I click on the envelope filter down here, you can see this highlights up, and we drag that across just so that we're applying the envelope to the cutoff here. And we've got the cutoff set to 27 Hertz. Then we've got the resonance at 30%, we've got the drive at 16%, and we've got the fat at just over 50 or 51%, 100% in the mix, and pans centrally. Don't think the LFO is going. Oh, yeah, the LFO is going through to the cutoff as well. So if you select LFO here, you can see you're adjusting there the parameters where the LFO is being applied. That's been dragged across as well. And but again, the cutoff is at 27 Hertz. So for the filter 2, which has oscillator C, you've got the cutoff at 220 Hertz, resonance at 49%, drive at 49%, fat at 50%, 100% in the mix, and pan centrally for oscillator C. So just moving down to the envelope and the LFO. I mean, you can pretty much see the envelope parameters I've applied here. I wanted a quick attack with the sound, so the attack is at 0.1 milliseconds. Then it holds on to the note for a reasonable amount of time, 477 milliseconds for the whole bit. Then the decay is set to 1.32 seconds, and then the sustain is minus 9.7 decibels, and then the release, the final bit, is 1.18 seconds. So you've got quite a high impact attack up front with the notes coming in quite quickly, and then it's kind of dispersing and then slowly fading in a kind of a moderate kind of way. And then with the LFO, we've got the retrig selected. We've got the square parameter LFO selected down here, which you can get to through basic, I think, and then down to square. Oops, I've just changed it. Let's put it back to square. Got the rate at 1/4. Got the vertical grid as 8 by an 8 horizontal grid. Rate, we've done that. Rise off, delay off, smooth off, and phase off. And as I said, we've got the mono voicing tick down here. If you don't have that ticked, you get quite a different sound. So just cleans it up a bit, makes it a bit less kind of polyphonic, which removes some of the kind of the phasing. I think that's everything on the oscillator tab. So I'm going to flick to the to the effects tab, and we've got a utility and we've got a distortion. So with the utility, I think most of these parameters are fairly dead center, apart from the width, which is at 27.4, 100% in the mix, and I have made it a mono bass. Distortion is on overdrive. This EQ section is turned off, so none of this applies. And we've got the drive set to 82%, and again it is 100% in the mix. And that's the synth. So I hope you found that useful. If you did, please consider liking the video and consider subscribing to the channel, and hopefully see you in the next video.